So you know what happened the other day? The other day I was on a rally. I actually went with some buddies. We took the Lambo here. We took it out for a drive. They had their Ferraris. We had Ferraris, Porsches, Lamborghinis. We were heading out in the country for a nice drive in the country. We thought we'd take the cars out on a beautiful sunny morning, spend the day, do a big tour, go all the way, basically head out of town, drive through the country roads, express the beautiful sounds and the performance of these cars out on the open highway. And so we're all driving along and we're leaving the city. We're leaving the city here, this beautiful city they call Edmonton. And what actually ended up happening, we wound up driving, we found some quiet roads. I after later on found out why they were so quiet. But we found some nice quiet roads on the way out of town. And on the way out of town, I took this beautiful machine. We were cruising, we were merging onto the highway. So I was following a Ferrari, a 458 Spider. Actually, no, that was a 458 Italia. Actually, there was a Spider right behind me. So I had a Ferrari in front of me, a Ferrari behind me, and me in the Lambo here. Now, what actually ended up happening to me was I drove this magnificent car. I was following the one Ferrari, not too far behind, but, you know, I wasn't tailgating. We were cruising along nicely. Lo and behold, did not see the sign, or there was no sign, didn't turn around to go verify that, and we saw, all of a sudden, poof, we drove through a road covered in gravel because the city decided to lay, in all their infinite wisdom, lay all this huge layer or blanket of gravel across the road. There was nowhere to go at highway speed. Short of locking up, we were going through this gravel pit with these supercars. Instantly, this car was pelted with gravel and rock. Devastating, absolutely devastating when you drive a supercar. Probably one of the worst things, except for the fact of possibly experiencing freshly painted roads and lines. So what ended up actually happening here, as I sailed through this pile of gravel, the Ferrari in front of me locked up, rocks pelted me, I locked up, rocks pelted the Ferrari behind me, and we all basically just piled right down, slowed right down to probably 10 kilometers per hour, just to try to control, basically damage control at that point. The heart was gone, the devastation, impending devastation was running through my mind. What the hell just happened? You could hear all the rocks bouncing off the hood, see the rocks flying over the windshield. You could hear it on the roof. Rocks around, rocks up top, rocks below, rocks up the front, rocks everywhere. It was underneath, it was over the top. I thought, oh my goodness, what just happened? Then we pulled over. We didn't pull over immediately. We drove, we continued on. And we continued on our journey to the next town, where we stopped at a lovely coffee shop just to take a break and have some beverages and survey the damage. While we spoke, I ended up having a discussion with some of the other guys that were driving, and the Ferraris. And the Ferrari guy behind me, he was pretty close to me, so he got nailed with a lot of rocks, as I did. Now, when we spoke, he advised me that when he bought his car new, he actually covered the entire car in film. He covered it in the rock protection film. Well, did that cover the glass? No. Well, what it does do is protects virtually every painted surface. And so he had this fine rock protection film, or paint protection film, if you will, covering everything. You couldn't even see the seams. He did a great job. He spent a lot of money, but the factory did that for him new. So the other thing, then I moved on to asking him if he did anything with the windshield, because these windshields in the Ferraris, in the Lamborghinis like this, these windshields, there's plenty of stories you can probably find. If you search the forums, you'll know this glass on this car costs about $7,000 for a new windshield. That's great when people say, well, you have insurance. So yes, I have insurance. And insurance gets me what? Well, insurance gets me protected. That's what insurance does. You pay a lot of money. In return, you hope that insurance, when you need it, God forbid, hopefully you don't need it, it will be there when you need it. and you go and collect. Lo and behold, they cover the bill, and off you go with the respective repairs. Now, in my mind, after speaking with that Ferrari owner, I was happy to hear that he also had the actual, there's a film that you can get for the windshields. And that film that he had on there, this is not an advocate. I'm not advertising for the brand. There are only a couple brands that I'm aware of that make, or a couple of manufacturers that make that type of film. But the one in particular that I'm aware of is Clearplex, which essentially is just like almost like a PVC coating, and it's basically a thin plastic shield that goes across your entire glass windshield. So that gentleman who was driving the Ferrari, great guy. It was great to hear that, the negative impact of hitting that rock did not hurt his car. The downside is, after looking at my car, I did sustain some chips and some small cracks. Now, fortunately on my car as well, I've also got the paint protection film. As you see down here, I've got a bunch of paint protection film. I've covered the whole front end, the headlights, the hood, the bump, and basically everything that could get nailed pretty much got covered. I have covered here with paint protection film. Now, moving on to the glass. Me, unfortunately, here's the irony in all of this. I had tried to book an appointment with a local installer to put my my windshield protection on. I was looking at getting some Clearplex for myself. He was busy. He was busy the day before, and I knew going onto a highway trip, doing a big trip like that, you're probably safer to actually protect it. Now again, this comes back to the insurance discussion. So you say, well, who cares? Why bother? Well, exactly, because that, for an everyday car that a windshield costs maybe less than $1,000, why bother? These Lambos with $7,000 windshields, you want to protect it somehow. Okay? So insurance. Well, do you realize when you get insurance for glass coverage, because glass is a very typical thing to crack, break, whatever, due to regular wear and tear, any exposure, it's like walking around naked or your pants down to your knees in a rock concert. It's probably not advisable. You're leaving yourself open for anything. And these cars, you feel very vulnerable, not too unlike that. So what I wanted to do was cover it before the highway trip. The $850 I was quoted is about the same cost as the deductible. The deductible for my glass coverage is $750. So I pay $750. If, God forbid, something happens to the windshield, I still have to pay that $750 deductible to get the insurance company to put that to replace the windshield. So it's a $7,000 windshield. I'll pay the $750, but it's still going to cost me $750. So I kind of look at weigh the economics of this. So again, not an advocate of the film per se, but after realizing, so you pay the $750 for the film or you pay the $750 for the deductible, what's the difference? Well, the difference is, why not keep the original glass? That's the difference. Drive a car like this. There's a lot of potential for mistakes for installers. Now, not to take away, there's a lot of really good installers out there. But I've heard a lot of stories too where people have changed the windshields in any car, a Honda Accord or whatever, you name it. They've changed the glass, and ever since they changed that original factory seal, they found themselves with whistling noises, maybe seals that don't fit right. And the fact that the other thing is the risk that installers may damage something. There's screws, fasteners for this. This thing could get damaged. You could scratch the paint. There's a very small tolerance all the way around. If you're not very careful, you could potentially damage the car or impose paint damage. Last thing you want to do on a car like this. So the intent for this kind of car, really in essence, what I learned, yeah, your deductible can cover, you pay a small deductible, you can cover this glass, a $7,000 windshield, but why not protect it? Why not protect the original glass like this one has, so you save yourself the heartache and the grief? Because, yeah, I can get a new windshield if something happens to this one. I can call up the insurance company, pay them $750, they come in, they replace this for me. But again, you know, like in all those aforementioned issues could arise, you know, damage to paint, whistling noises, and then it's not quite the original. Plus you put a claim against the insurance company. What does that look like? So you claim, you make a claim against your insurance policy. Is okay, that's great, you're paying the deductible of $750, but what winds up actually happening in essence is the long term. See, insurance companies are very brilliant. They have find ways of basically coming out on top. So if you pay $750, or you're saying I'll pay you $750 but I'm claiming this windshield, that $7,000 glass is going to cost you probably $12,000 to $15,000 in the end, because the next year, next 2 years, they generally start putting premiums, tacking premiums, because they look at your history and your claim history, and that translates to dollars and cents that they have to recuperate. So why not save yourself a whole lot of heartache and just do it right from the get-go? Why don't you just get that film? As a matter of fact, I still haven't done the film. What I have done for the interim, however, is I've actually filled, fortunately I had these holes filled, the few little specks and spots and small little spider cracks. I've had them repaired, and the windshield looks no worse for wear. Fortunately, I didn't hit anything serious. The front end, the paint is perfect. The film that I had, the paint protection film, was perfect, did its job. The glass, however, I was able to fortunately I got this all sealed up real nice, and now it looks almost like new. So what I'm going to do, I really hesitate, to be honest, driving this anywhere at high speeds. I'll certainly not drive the car, but before I take the next big highway trip, rest assured I will be looking at putting on that paint protection film, because it is an absolute must. Driving this car, you truly do feel naked, you feel very vulnerable, and with a $7,000 sheet of glass here, you can't afford not to protect it. Like I said, lots can go wrong when you drive these cars, and I just wanted to share with you guys the potential impacts when you drive a supercar. That's part of the ownership expense. People ask all the time, how much to own a Lamborghini? What's the operating expense of owning a Lamborghini? Well, that's part of it. You don't think of those things. You think of tires and brakes. You think of clutch. How many miles can I get on an oil change? Those are the things everybody thinks about. What you don't think about is that guy walking by and smokes your mirror, breaks your mirror off, and there's a weird one. Or a rock catching you because a semi-truck passes you and breaks your windshield. Those are weird ones that you don't really account for, but they can put a serious dent in your pocketbook. I haven't priced this out. I couldn't even imagine what that rear windshield or rear window looks like. These side windows. This little triangular window, I'm sure, is not cheap either. They're very unique to Lambo. Everything in this car is very specialized, specific for this car. Nothing comes cheap. The only thing cheap is something generic like tires. You know, at $2,000 a set, you're okay. That's about the cheapest thing you're going to fix on this car. So anyway, guys and gals, I hope everybody liked this video. In summary, protect the supercar. You use it. Don't be a garage queen, or don't treat it like a garage queen. You bought it to use. That's why we drive these cars. We drive them to enjoy them, the way they feel, the sound, to show other people. Everybody likes looking at these cars. But, you know, take the extra precautions. You know what? Those are the little things I would advise you. And of course, the things that you should be aware of before buying a supercar. Some of the things that, when you're looking at a car, a used car, for example, and this guy's advertising the entire car is covered in film, those are value. Like, those are value-added items. And those things are there to protect these fine automobiles. So again, everybody, I hope you liked the video. Please come back soon. More importantly, subscribe down below. Come back, check out my next video. As a matter of fact, the next video is a summary of the video I had previous. My next video after this will be of a Porsche 996 twin turbo and the top things that go wrong. So the buyer's guide of a Porsche 996 turbo and the things that do go wrong with that car. As you know, my previous video was a full review of a beautiful example of a 996 turbo, so please visit that one as well. However, this one here will be of the top 5 items actually that can go wrong on a 996. Thanks again, everybody. Hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.